Hello there, my name is Levon Case, and so I found an article today at WCCFtech.com, and it was about an interview that they had with David Cage, which he is, by the way, the CEO of Quantic Dream. David Cage highlighted that ray tracing will be very important to the point that developers may prefer to have their games be rendered at 1080p resolution, not 1440p resolution, 1080p resolution, than to have their games with limited lighting at 4K resolution. If you want to read the rest of the article, and if you are interested into that, then link will be down below in the description of this video. So if you go down in the description of this video, the link of the article will be there. Alright now, it is time to give my thoughts. It is time to give my opinion on this matter. Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I really don't care about ray tracing like that because while yes, it is nice to see those realistic lightings and the reflections, like example to see the reflection of, the football in Madden and see the reflection of the buildings of Red Faction Guerrilla, that would be nice and all that other stuff, but honestly though, at the end of the day, it takes away performance and it cuts the frame rate in half. And that right there is pretty much a reason not to really mess with ray tracing like that, or even, support ray tracing hardcore like that, is because of performance. Is because of the fact that it cuts the frame rate in half. And honestly too, I'm gonna just be real with you guys. I would rather have less reflections and a little bit less lighting, and rather have 60 FPS than to do the opposite, which would be, have lots of ray tracing, have lots of lighting, have, lots of reflections in the game, then also have 30 frames per second. I mean, honestly, I think most of us gamers out here would rather have 60 frames per second than 30 frames per second. And with ray tracing, when you really think about it, would cut that back into 30 frames per second. So really, with these developers being all about the ray tracing, be all about the reflections and that ways to take advantage of the lighting, we pretty much won't be having, a whole bunch of 60 frames per second games anytime soon because of ray tracing. In fact, all of us gamers, at this point in time, we were all talking about, frame rates. We were all talking about resolutions. We were all talking about, achieving native 4K 60 frames per second. And now since this, ray tracing with NVIDIA came in, now that doesn't matter anymore. Now it's all about dynamic resolution. Now it's all about ray tracing and reflections and lighting. Now it's pretty much all about, DLSS or whatever it's called, something like that. Now it's all about those things than, say, to achieve 60 frames per second at 4K. Now, I would rather want, 60 frames per second if it is, 1080p or 1440p. That wouldn't bother me. But it's the fact that we have changed the narrative to native 4K 60 frames per second to now being native 4K doesn't really matter anymore. And now we get, ray tracing and all this other stuff, which came out the blue. And now we just gonna get a lot of dynamic resolution games, in dynamic 4K and stuff like that. And yet we might even get, games at 1080p because of developers out there who care about, visuals and all that other stuff than say, care a lot more about performance. Because at the end of the day, a lot of us gamers will want that performance, even though that the reflections are going to be a little bit less, even though that there's going to be a little bit less lightning. We would rather have that 60 frames per second, like I said, than all this ray tracing stuff and all this ray tracing nonsense. Because honestly, when you really think about it, and I'm going to be real with you guys, ray tracing is a gimmick right now. Nothing more, nothing less, guys. It is a gimmick. Like, I'm being for real. Like, it is a gimmick at this point. Really, it really is. It's not anything special. It's really not. And at this point, I would rather have a game, that looks good graphically, and it wouldn't bother me that it doesn't have ray tracing. Like, if there's no ray tracing in that game, then it really would not bother me at all, because, and this is just my opinion, by the way, if anyone's wondering, so you can disagree in the comment section below whether or not ray tracing is going to be the big thing of the next generation, rather than achieving finally 60 frames per second, because that was one of the big goals of this generation, the 8th generation, which was to achieve 1080p 60 frames per second. While yes, we have achieved, above and beyond, getting, above 1080p resolutions and stuff like that, we really still have not achieved, 60 frames per second hardcore like that. Like, we really not. And with this ray tracing and all that other stuff, we're still not going to achieve that 60 frames per second goal like that. Like, we are really not. Like, us gamers are not going to be able to see that 60 frames per second like that. So, I've been rambling long enough. So, I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that David Cage is right? Which, there's going to be a lot more ray tracing in video games. That there's going to be, games rendered at 1080p resolution with more lighting and more reflections. Like, do you guys believe that? I want to know you guys' thoughts in the comment section below this video. Thank you guys for watching, and peace. And I hope you guys have a good day. And do you guys like these videos to be, in gameplay commentary format or in, video format? I mean, let me know in the comment section below this video. But anyways, bye.